from powertoolswiththread.com. That's my blog. I am in the middle of making these adorable placemats for my grandchildren. I've got 2 grandsons and a little granddaughter, and I used a marble tossed fabric for the center of them, and for each one of my grandsons I personalized it and I embroidered the name on there, and I don't have the backing on them yet. I'm going to do that in a minute, but I personalized it. I got it straight. It went exactly where I wanted it to. And let me show you the other one. This one's for Aiden. It kind of blends in because it's got the Hulk behind it, but that was what I chose for his. And for Callie, my granddaughter, she's 8, I made her this placemat with the fabric from Effie's Woods by Deb Strain. And this is really adorable. And now I want to put her name on here. And I'm not at home, as you can tell by my background. I'm in my RV. I don't have all those fancy tools and gizmos and gadgets to help me do all the centering that I normally would have in my regular sewing room. But I was able to get these 2 exactly where I wanted them and how I wanted them. And so I wanted to show you how I did that on this 3rd one right here. It's really easy and it's really simple, and you can do this with virtually any embroidery project as far as figuring out how to get things centered. No special software is required at all. I am just using the font that is already inside of my Brother NQ3700D combo sewing and embroidery machine, and I'm using the embroidery module of it. So I just wanted to show you how I do this. My hoop size is a 6x10. It has smaller hoops that come with the machine, but I didn't bring those. I only brought the 6x10, and I did not bring a grid. So I've got to figure out how to get that placed, how to get it level, and how to get it exactly where I want it to be. The one thing I did do was I took a little piece of notebook paper, and this is 1.5 inches wide, and I folded it in half, top and bottom and side to side. It was just off of a little tablet from our electric company, and I just folded it in half like this, long ways, and then again short ways, and then where they met I created a crosshair, and this is going to be the center of the design. All right, and for the boys, what I did was I decided that where this half square triangle is right here, that's where I wanted the center of the design to be. Right above this line right here, this was going to be the center of the design. So you have to find where you want center on your project. And I use this seam line as an alignment line. I apologize for noise in the background. It's the air conditioning, but we're not moving this time, so there's no road noise. And then just kind of arbitrarily, the center of the design is 1 inch and 1/8, 1 1/8 inch up from the top of this black border seam right here. So that's exactly how I'm going to do Callie's. The first thing I need to do is to put some stabilizer in my hoop and create a crosshair on the center of the grid. I'm using no-show poly mesh. It's a 12-inch wide no-show poly mesh. I'll link to it below. And I also have it in my Amazon store. I've used it for years and years, the brand that's in my Amazon store, and I'll link to that below as well if you wanted to get some. I really like this, and it's not super expensive. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on Callie's. I got to make sure this one has direction. My animals have a direction, so I need to pay attention and make sure I get the embroidery right on here. So no fancy way to measure this at all. I'm just going to lay the bottom hoop on top of the stabilizer, making sure I've got about 1 inch over here and equal amounts on either side. And I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to just cut it right over here on the outside of the tightening screw. So now I know that this stabilizer is large enough. Now, if I were at home, I would have made sure I had backed this fabric in SF101, Pellon SF101, But I didn't do that because I didn't decide until this morning that I wanted to personalize these. I recommend if you're going to be doing embroidery on quilting cottons, you definitely want to make sure you've backed the fabric with SF 101. You can get that at Joann's or on Amazon or anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stabilizer over that. And on my particular hoop, there's a little divot right up here at the top. I'll show you, get closer. There's a little divot right there. That is the top of the hoop, and it matters. On brother hoops, it matters. And up here, there's a little belly button, an outie belly button right there, and that goes into that divot. And I'm just going to push it in and make it nice and taut so that it's smooth right here. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to screw it closed as tight as I can finger wise. And then I don't have my little brother screwdriver with me, but this one came with the machine. So I'm going to screw that tight. There. Now I need to make a crosshair on my stabilizer so I can find center. Whenever you're doing embroidery, while your project might fit anywhere in the hoop, you always want to start on center, as close to center as possible, because the rest of the design might get too close to the edge if you don't start in center. And it's just best for the machine. The machine is happy when it starts in center. So there are 2 notches here on the inside of my hoop that tell me this is center this direction. And I'm going to just take a Sharpie and I'm going to make a line. I'm going to use a longer ruler and make sure I get it straight. This thing bends in the middle because it's foldable, but that's okay because it folds. I just need something to give me a really good general idea of center and straight, and that's what I'm after. So I'm setting up the edge of the ruler on each one of the marks, the tick marks that are on the hoop. Now I have a center crosshair. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. Okay, so now I have my crosshair on my hoop. Now it's time to align the design on the project itself. Okay, I'm going to do this straight up to me so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to set my ruler so that it is on this seam line right here of this half square triangle, just like for the boys. That's where I want it. It's 1 1/8 inches up, and I'm going to take my little template and I'm going to slide it under and put it so that this long line is even with a 1 inch marking, the 1 1/8 inch mark here, and I've got it exactly where I want it. So that's going to be center of the design right there. Now I'm going to take my pins and I'm going to pin this to the project, but I don't want to pin it over here, okay? Because we're going to have to fold this so that we get the alignment right. So I'm going to take the pin and put it out of the way of where I'm going to fold. You always want to do that. Put it out of the way of where you want to fold. Now I'm going to measure again and make sure I'm 1 1/8 right here on this side, and that's good. And am I 1 1/8 here? I am. And so I know that this is straight now, and this is going to be the center of the design. That's what it looks like right there. All right, now it's time to get the design into the hoop. And I'm going to do this right side up to me so I don't mess it up. I'm making sure the arm of my embroidery hoop is over here on my left, which is where it connects into the machine. So this is what I want, so that I know that I will have the majority of my project over here, so it's hanging off the side and it's not going to be bunched up inside the neck of the machine. I did bring some KK 2000 with me. This is a Sulky product. I absolutely love it. It doesn't have any bad fumes, and it will hold everything tight, and it won't gunk up the needle. So I have sprayed KK 2000 right over the crosshair section. Now what I'm going to do, where this crosshair is right here, I'm going to fold this. I'm going to fold it over, fold it in half, And I'm looking to make sure my black lines are laying on top of each other. Okay? And I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to make right there, I'm just going to make a black line right on the edge of where that fold is. All right? And then I'm going to fold it like this, where it's going to be folded in half. Make sure my edges of my project are straight right here, so it's folded correctly. And now I'm gonna, you can do this with a pencil, you can do it with a water soluble, you can do it with a heat soluble, whatever you want. All right, it's not gonna show through my project because this is Pellon 987F that I've adhered to this. Pretty sure you can't see through it, doesn't matter now, it's done. All right, great. So I have not taken this off. I'm going to leave this paper on until just before it's time to stitch. So now what I want to do is I'm going to fold this over. I've got my crosshair right there. See this? That's what I need. I can see it. I'm going to make sure that the arm of the hoop is over here to connect into the embroidery machine. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to align that crosshair on the back and make sure this is straight. So I did put KK2000 onto the stabilizer, and I've made sure that this is all lined up just like this, and I'm going to fold it over and smooth it out. There. Now I know that this is straight. I'm floating this. I'm not hooping it, I'm floating it. And so now I'm just going to take some pins and go ahead and get this pinned onto the stabilizer so it doesn't go anywhere when I'm not looking, because it will. It'll want to move around. As I had said earlier, if I was at home, I would have put some SF101 on the back of the fabric. I don't have any on the back of the fabric, and so I am going to go ahead and add a little bit more stabilizer to the project so that it's going to have enough underneath it so I don't get tugging with the heavy satin stitch and the lettering. With a scrap from the one I used on one of my grandson's pieces, I'm just going to cut a scrap right here. Okay. This is a little trick you can do, and I know it needs to go center of the hoop. I'm going to go ahead and put some more KK2000 right there. I'm going to put this on there, and then I'm going to spray it again. It will not gum up your needle, you guys. It's great. I'm just going to fold that over, and that way I know that this is going to stay to the back. But just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and pin it so it doesn't get caught up under the embroidery machine at all. Look how many pins I'm putting in here, you guys, and that's okay. So long as it comes out looking like you want it, it doesn't matter how you got there. Yeah. All right. So I created an alignment line on the stabilizer, an alignment crosshair on the stabilizer. I created an alignment crosshair on my paper and aligned it with a seam that I wanted it to be at. And then I put another crosshair alignment marking on the back of the project to align it to the stabilizer. We are pinned to death and ready to go over to the embroidery machine. This is the Brother NQ3700D. Her name is Gypsy, and she is my travel machine. And I love this little thing. It's so awesome. The versatility of it is great. I need to get it rethreaded for the color I want to use for my granddaughter. I'm threading it with Dime's Exquisite Thread. I really like this, and I chose a soft, kind of an orange, and I think it's going to complement the orange and the fox and the fawn. So I'm using a Organ 7511 needle, and I have a 60 weight bobbin, pre-wound bobbin from Dime in the bobbin case. So I'm going to use the automatic needle threader over here on the side. Works perfect every time. And I'm just going to go ahead and put the hoop in. Slide it in there. Get this in. And put the little lever down. And we are ready to go. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not on center. So I'm going to zoom in for you. All right, I'm here at the screen and I've finished embroidering, and that was from the last one that I did for my other grandson. So I'm going to tell it okay. And that was Aiden's. And on this particular machine, let me back up just a little bit. I don't know if you can see the buttons. I'm sorry about the lighting, you guys. I don't have all my lighting with me. The way to back out of this, there's not like a home button on this machine like there is on the Luminaire. And so here there is a back button right here. I'm going to touch it and I'm going to keep going backwards until I back out of the design. Okay, to cancel the current pattern selection, I'm going to tell it okay. Now I'm back to the home embroidery screen. So from this screen, I'm going to choose the simple fonts, which is right here, and I'm going to choose number 1. So right here, there's an L and an M and an S, and that means large, medium, and small. But they're grayed out. They're not lit up for you to choose right now. So the way to get those to be active is you need to touch a letter. And her name is Callie, so I'm going to touch the C. I could just touch it, and it will change large, medium, small. Now, how you determine what size you want is up here in the top of this screen right here. And so this tells me that the height of this is only going to be 0.31. That's not tall enough. I really want the larger font. So you can tell here the large font is 1.28 in height. The medium font is 0.63. So this is how you decide what size of letter you want. So I'm going to go back to large. That's what I want. And on this particular one, the all caps and the lowercase are on the same tab. And you can tab, and there's your numbers and your punctuation, and then here's other letters for alphabets in other languages or other symbols you might want to use. I'm going to use the caps and the lowercase tab. And now I need to get to the lowercase a, and you do that by cycling through these arrows down here on the front of the machine. So there's my A, and then an L. And when you use the fonts inside of the embroidery machine, they already kern correctly for you. You don't need any kind of software to do that. And by kerning, it means they're close together if they need to be. And I need an I, and then I need an E, and that's it. So you can keep cycling through these to get what you need. So it shows up here. So CALLIE, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit set. Now, if I choose to move it here, because you can move, size, rotate, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. There's a little bit of editing that you can do in here, but I don't want to do any of that because I don't want to move it on the screen before I get it centered where I want it to be on the project. So if I was to do move here, then the letters would move around on the screen and the hoop would not move. We want the hoop to move to make sure the needle is centered where I want it to be. So to get the hoop to move, I'm going to hit edit end. Now we are jumping out of editing and now we're into embroidery. Now if I touch the jog buttons anywhere, the hoop will move with the project in it. So I can see here, I'm going to bring the needle down, and I am about I'm level horizontally, but I need to go that way, one direction. Let me jump this and see. Oh, the needle is down. So it gave me a needle down error, and to fix that, there's a needle up down button right here. There, it just set itself back. That's because I turned the wheel over here on the side. Now let me move this. And I'll do it again. Move my thread here. That's Right on. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So now that I've got my needle directly over my crosshair, I can remove my little paper. And that looks really good. And I am ready to go. There's nothing else I need to do with this. So now I'm just going to touch the embroidery button and it is ready to stitch. The screen is telling me, it says black, but I have the orange thread in there, so that's fine. On the Luminaire, you use the W, but on this little machine, you use the U foot, and there's 1,879 stitches. It says it's going to take 5 minutes, and there is only one thread color to use. Also down here, you have scissors with these little threads. That means you can turn off the trim stitches. If you're ever stitching something that you don't want the threads to cut, the jump threads, then you can touch this and you can turn it off. You can change, you can turn off the thread color, or you can cut the jump stitch. I don't want it, I'm just going to tell it like this. I want that on. I want my jump stitches to be cut. And here's your needle plus minus button. Here is where I can go ahead, 1 stitch, 10 stitches, 100 stitches, or I can go back 1, 10, or 100, and here is where I can jump through thread colors if I had different thread colors, but I don't. So those are the 2 buttons that are available to me once I get right here. So let's go on to the project, and I'm going to put my foot down by pressing the presser foot button. It turned green and we're ready to go. This is going to take 5 minutes. Now it did not get the little tail to pull it down in. I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to take my scissors and grab a hold of that, and I'm just going to trim it. You don't have to, but it just makes for cleaner embroidery. So it's stitched an underlay stitch first, and now it's going back and doing the satin stitch. And because I put extra stabilizer on the back of the hoop, I shouldn't get too much puckering. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. A pair of little snips here. These are spring snips. I got them from tooltron.com. And then these are Revlon pointed eyebrow tweezers. They're the best. Buy them in the grocery store. And I like to use these to get a hold of these threads, and it holds it really tight, and I can trim them off, my little start and stop threads, if there's any that are still exposed. Pull it up real tight and trim it close. You'll never see it. That looks really good. Oh, I've got some jump threads right there. Underneath those. There we go. Oh. Perfect. All done. Okay, let's pull this out. That turned out adorable. Now you can see the crosshair through the back on there, but I'll put a backing on it and you'll never see it. Now when you're trimming away stabilizer from the back of the project, whether you've got duckbill scissors or not, hang your project down so it's going this way and you have the stabilizer in your hand, and you can always see where the blades of the scissors are going, and you are not going to cut your project. You never ever want to cut blind because you don't want to cut it into your project. This way I can get nice and close. You always want your project to hang away from you when you're cutting. There we go. That looks good. Got some more scraps there. Look at that. That turned out beautiful. Just beautiful. Now I'm going to put this on a backing, and then I think I'm going to probably stitch in the ditch. I might just do some like straight line quilting, and then I will use the backing as a self-binding. Okay, you guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more tips and tricks for home embroidery. And I hope you've got some good ideas now that you can use to align your projects to be able to customize any kind of embroidery project that you might want to make. We'll talk to you soon. Go sew something. Bye.